500,000 agents left the business last year because they can't sell a house.
Pace Morby,
the master of creative finance in real estate,
educator, investor, and author of Wealth Without Cash.
Every house, every building, every restaurant has a story of somebody who fought tooth and nail to own that thing. When you do a real estate transaction, the title company cannot legally finish the transaction until you get paid. I have a tool to make a ton of money in no matter what environment. Right now, the environment's very slow for the retail market. So the tool I'm using is
you've almost become like a big-time personal branding expert in this space.
My personal brand wasn't like, hey, let's post on Instagram 3 times a day and let's make sure our edits are good. I literally just go, will somebody watch this and be able to bring me a deal because of how simple I made this? The problem is the buyer has to go get a mortgage at 7.5% interest to buy that house. The overall United States made 5% gain last year. There was over 15,000 people that made YouTube videos saying the market is crashing. The market is not going down. Building that can't talk back to me, doesn't sass me, doesn't ask for a raise, doesn't bitch and moan and go, where's my profit share? The building just sits there and makes the money. The reason why we like RV parks is because they cash flow like crazy and there's nothing to really to maintain. The problem is 99% of people on the planet will never be in the 1%. Why? Because they're not willing to do the work.
Advice like you always give.
95% of your success and 95% of your failure comes from the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Kickin' Ass, Taking Names podcast, and today we are here with Pace Morby, triple-digit flip on A&E. Pace, actually, first off, thank you so much for being here and being able to make it.
Absolutely, Shaq.
When it comes to real estate education, are probably the biggest, I think, that I've heard of in terms of like running a huge community of people who are interested in specifically creative finance, right? So the way that you're funding a deal, the way that you build your deals, the way that you handle real estate or look at real estate, especially with subject to, and the way that you handle kind of like contracts in real estate is a little bit interesting. I wanted to ask you about that. But to start though, I know most people probably, maybe some people have seen your show, some people have seen you on podcasts. I mean, you've got a couple podcasts you've been on that I've seen do quite a bit of numbers, like your iced coffee hour with Graham. I love Graham, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of people are really interested in the way that you do it because I think you're offering an interesting angle, but not only that, most people, right, can relate to an asset that they're most likely going to own, right? The original American dream, owning a house, having, a couple of kids, having, and they're purchasing that asset, they're owning that asset, and you deal specifically for the majority part as a not fix and flipper, but really just how to purchase. And from that point, whether you're talking about rentals, Airbnb, I did want to ask you about that. Why real estate and how'd you get into it?
Real estate is the only guaranteed asset that has gone up mathematically in history and not lost money. Right? A business can go out of business. A CEO can get shot, right? This just happened with a big healthcare company. Stocks plummet, those kind of things. Or companies just go out of business. Or even more, AI is putting, big blue chip companies out of business now. Companies like, look at Kodak. Okay, where's Kodak? Kodak was one of the largest companies in the world. Where's Kodak now? They're basically bankrupt. Guess what doesn't happen with real estate? That. It's a guaranteed way to get wealthy, right? And so that's why real estate. I got sick and tired of being a contractor, sick and tired of working with my hands. I loved working with my hands. What I didn't love is that I had to do it every day, right? It's like if I could just go out, fix a car, build a house, build something cool, go to my ranch in Montana and just hang out and do cool things with my hands, I'd do that all day long. The problem is I don't want to feel like I have to do it. It's a completely different world. With real estate, it's the guaranteed way for you to get wealthy and to get out of the rat race. What's going to happen with Bitcoin? Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with Bitcoin? Go to $1 million. It could go to $1 million. Michael Saylor is saying it's going to go to 13 million by 2040. I hope he's right because I've got Bitcoin, but we don't know. We don't know what could happen with Bitcoin. Somebody could come out and, the U.S. government could come out with their own cryptocurrency. They could do all sorts of crazy things that I have no control of. But what is the one thing that has been tried, tested, and true is owning real estate. It's the number one thing. Then the other reason why I love real estate is because you don't have to own real estate to make a ton of money off of it. Just controlling real estate is enough. Okay. How do I control real estate? We could talk about that. Let's look at Maricopa County, where we currently are, Phoenix, Arizona. How many real estate agents are in Phoenix, Arizona right now?
No idea.
75,000 licensed real estate agents. I'm not a licensed real estate agent. To do what I do and make the kind of money I make, you don't have to be licensed. In fact, it's preferred that you're not. Just no regulation, nobody telling me what to do. I don't have a boss to report to. But what are the biggest pain points for real estate agents, and how do we make money? Well, we make money by solving somebody else's pain, right? Whether it's I'm a dentist and I'm removing your cavity. Hey, you've got a rusty spot on your car. I'm a body shop. I remove the rust. You got a problem. I solve it. I make money. That's how the world works, right? Well, in real estate, it's really easy to see what people's problems are. Really easy to see what people's problems are. How? Well, I can just go on software nowadays and go, who's in foreclosure? Who's going through probate? Who has a tax lien? Who's having a hard time selling their house? So real estate agents. Since 1995, we have never had a worse real estate market than we did in 2024. Yet I made more money than I've ever made in 2024. Why is that the case? I'll tell you why. Because I go to real estate agents who are having a hard time selling their houses. Why are they having a hard time selling their houses? Do you have any idea why people are having a hard time selling houses right now?
Yeah, nobody wants to get rid of their 3%.
No, that's what people have told you. That's incorrect. I mean, otherwise nobody would have their house on the market. There's plenty of houses with 3, 4, 5% interest rates on the market right now that are having a hard time selling. Why are they having a hard time selling? They're on the market right now. So they are selling, but why are they not selling?
It's too much. Well, actually, depends on the market, right? I mean, I know that it varies from state to state, but and specifically in Arizona, what I've heard is not a lot of people are selling. And
a lot of people are selling. There's 20,000 houses on the market right now. A lot of people are selling. That's incorrect information.
Yeah.
The data shows you they're on the market. Why are they not selling? Okay. So let's teach the audience an acronym: days on market. Days on market is a good measurement of how healthy the current real estate market is. It's like, I put a house on the market. I'm a homeowner. I want to sell and move to Denver. I hire a real estate agent. They put it on the market. The average days on market in a healthy environment is about 40 to 45 days, right? I put my house on the market. Within 6 weeks, I've got an offer that's relatively close to what I put the house on. What are the days on market right now? It's 90. So literally double what a healthy market is. What does that mean? That means agents aren't getting paid. Sellers aren't selling their houses. By the way, these are sellers that have their house on the market.
That's majority because of the interest rate, right?
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just woke up.
The buyer on the other side has got to come buy that house. Okay. So let's say Tim is the buyer. Tim is the homeowner, and Tim bought his house in 2022 when interest rates were 3.5%. He's now selling that property. That's BS when people say, oh, nobody's selling their house because they're good. No, bro, there's millions of people on the market right now with 3%, 4% interest rates that are selling right now that can't find
That's what I meant. I think I was...
Why? Why are the buyers not buying these houses?
Right.
Because they have to go get a 7.5% interest rate to buy that house.
Right.
Okay, cool. So what does that do? That puts buyers out of the market. That puts sellers in a bad situation, and agents are not getting paid. 500,000 agents left the business last year because they can't sell a house. So you would look at that and go, oh, the market's dead. No. What's the problem? The problem is the buyer has to go get a mortgage at 7.5% interest to buy that house.
Yep.
How do I solve that and make money? I go to the seller and I say, hey, looks like you're having a hard time selling the house. Can I just take over your payments on your 3% mortgage? Now, what do I do with it? I take it over. I now own the house. I don't have to have any money out of pocket. I could rent it out if I wanted to. But couldn't I just go to somebody else and go, hey, family who was told you have to go get a 7.5% rate? I have a 3.5% rate. Pay me 20 grand and I'll give you this house. So I'm getting paid just finder's fees going to people that were turned down or thought they couldn't afford a house. And I'm going to them saying, you guys want this house? Pay me 20 grand. Pay me 15 grand. Pay me 10 grand. Pay me 12 grand. Pay me 50. So I make hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month, literally just connecting the seller who's having a hard time selling the house and a buyer who was told that they couldn't afford it because interest rates were so high. And I'm literally just connecting the two people and making a fee. That's one of many ways I make money. So while everybody else is going, oh, the market's slow, I'm like, dude, this is amazing. Now, what's cool about what I do is that I have a tool to make a ton of money in no matter what environment. Right now, the environment's very slow for the retail market. So the tool I'm using is putting the buyer and the seller together, and I'm making a fee. Okay. In a really great market, when the market's going up, I'm flipping a lot more. Okay. Why? Because I'll buy a house and it's on the way up. But when the market's trending downward or it's stagnant, I'm not flipping. I turn that switch off and I stop flipping.
Yeah.
I can pivot and move as an investor depending on what's going on.
Do you prefer like a specific, do you prefer rentals, buy and hold?
I prefer, right now, we've been focusing a lot of our time and energy on RV parks. And the reason why we like RV parks is because they cash flow like crazy and there's nothing to maintain, right? When you drive by an RV park next time, look at the RV park. What is there to maintain? Dirt and a driveway, a sewer connection, and an electrical connection. Who manages my RV parks? Somebody who lives there. So literally I give somebody free rent. I go, you manage the RV park, I'll give you free rent. You manage all the things, blah, 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 blah. What's great about RV parks, multifamily, mobile home parks, I can buy all of these with no credit, no bank, no down payment, nothing. Okay, I'll give you a good tip for people. Go to Crexi.com, okay, Crexi.com. Go to the search bar and type in owner finance. There's over 16,000 listings right now, RV parks, mobile home parks, car washes, businesses, multifamily right now where the sellers are like, we'll let you take over payments right now. You don't even have to go find them. They're sitting right there. So wherever you guys are, Crexi.com, type in owner finance, and there's all your opportunities.
Have you heard of some of these new tech companies? I grew up in Seattle area, and there's some tech companies out there that do specifically essentially coordinate multiple investors into one property.
Yeah, like a fractional type of thing. Yeah, there's a really cool company called Fractional.io is a really good company that does that. We use them all the time.
Yeah, there's also I think they all have like startup names. I don't.
Yeah, but what they're doing is they're going to passive investors, which is not me. I'm not passive. I'm active. What does that mean? The difference is those people are typically going to those websites saying, "Hey, I'm going to go own a part of a company." Those people don't know how to find deals.
Yeah.
So what happens is somebody like me who knows how to find deals, I take my deal, I put it on that website, and I get it funded from the people that are in their 9-to-5 job. So usually the people that are funding those are like doctors, lawyers, engineers, people that are like, I don't want to learn what Pace does. I just want to invest in a deal that Pace has. So those websites are really good. They're not really creative finance. They're not what I focus on. But when I do have a deal that needs to get funded, I'll put them on there so that people just bring their small, like if you go to Fractional, the smallest amount of money you can invest on a deal with me is $5,000. You don't have to be accredited. Do you know what accredited versus? Yeah. Okay.
$1 million plus net worth.
There you go. So the federal government has deemed anybody that doesn't have $1 million net worth basically unfit to invest in anything. And so anybody underneath that is called a non-accredited investor for the people in audience land. So what's cool about websites like Fractional is that you don't have to be accredited. You don't have to have $1 million net worth. You could literally bring a $5,000 onto one of my deals, get a monthly check, and be a partner with mine today.
Yeah, I know also too, Cardone's always, preaching Cardone Capital, and a bunch of people have started to utilize more crowdfunding. And
yeah, what he does is what's called a Reg A plus.
Yeah.
So he has a Reg A plus that allows him to raise money in increments of $1,000 from people who are non-accredited. It's a really smart thing. And Grant I have a Reg CF. Yeah, that we've closed out and we funded.
Who did you actually talk to? One of the companies that does Reg C's and the paperwork.
I used a company called a company owned by a guy named Mauricio. He's just a securities attorney.
Yeah.
But where I found that out was from Grant. I was at dinner with him about 3 years ago, and he said, "You're an idiot." And I said, "Why?" And he says, "Well, look at your YouTube audience. This is an interesting thing for you. So 99% of your audience will never buy anything from you. They'll just consume your content. They'll take notes. They'll either take action. They won't, whatever. But 99% of people will never do business with you. They won't buy a t-shirt from you. They won't buy a ticket to an event. They won't buy any product you have. They won't indulge in any services you have. Like I own a title company. 99% of my audience on my YouTube channel will not ever use my title company." And I'm like, okay, how do you know that? He goes, "Well, let me tell you how I know it." And he started looking at his analytics. And he goes, "You have become a millionaire off of the 1% of people on your YouTube channel that buy stuff from you. I have become a billionaire from the people who don't buy anything." I'm like, "What? Excuse me? You became a billionaire from people that don't buy anything from you? How is that even possible?" And he says, "Those are the people that don't want to, like, let's say Grant has a course. If I go buy a course for $5,000 or $10,000 from Grant, is that course going to do the work for me? No. So people watching his content or watching my content go, I don't want to do any work. Mm-hmm. Why would I buy a course from you? That means if I buy a course, that's basically buying myself homework, right? So Grant says 99% of my audience doesn't want to do any of the work. They want it done for them. I'm like, okay, well, how do you do it for them? He goes, you put a fund together and you let them invest in the fund. They get a monthly check. And I'm like,
yep,
oh
Chris
my.
Crone's doing it too.
Oh my gosh, why didn't I ever think about this? That's so genius. He's like, you found the deal, you fund the deal, you structure the deal, you manage the deal, you have the team, you have the thing. And so I went and put a fund together. We raised 15 million last year. I'm nothing like Grant. Grant is way bigger than I am in that regard. I own thousands of rentals, but they're all without a fund. They're just all, seller finance or taking over mortgage payments. But yes, I started a Reg CF and we funded it, closed it out in like a week because of what Grant taught me. Grant's genius.
Yeah, actually just partner with a company and I'm like blanking on the name, but they do the same thing. Mm-hmm. I just talked to the guy. I just connect him.
Yeah.
But essentially they do the same thing. So if I meet a creator and they want to get into that, we do the same thing. Like that's a very, very new thing. I just got introduced to that.
Love it. So you're moving out to Miami, right?
Yeah.
What are you going to be doing in Miami? How are you going to grow what you're doing right now? Like, what are you into? What's your next?
So actually, eventually I want to get funded and I want to grow the show, but I also want to coordinate. I want to actually coordinate like mentorship between people and all of our podcast guests.
Okay.
And then I also want to coordinate speaking events, and that's what we're working on, is putting together that as well.
Okay, cool. So you would be the coordinator between somebody like me who's a speaker and an event, and you would go, hey, Pace, this event wants to pay you to come out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Well, I know a lot of people that do that. That's great. That's a cool business. Then the other thing is that you want to be essentially an affiliate for other people's mentorships.
I've always been a broker. So I was in sales, and then I went into insurance. I was an insurance broker, and then I switched to essentially now I'm like kind of brokering media.
Okay.
But at this point, I want to do more of like brokerage plus, like, because we want to offer that plus. We want to offer the service.
Okay.
A lot of people have been doing consulting, or they do education, or they do an agency.
Okay.
People right now, I'm thinking people are kind of like shitting on, so to speak, the agency side.
Yeah.
But I think that there's value in that, because if I have people who can help, like I know that you have this, right? You have teams that you can utilize, that you when you talk to your audience, you tell them like, hey, by the way, if you don't want to do it yourself, we have guys you can use for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And then those are also part of your network that you've vetted. So it's like I found something. I found a diamond in the rough. You can have you can go through a million editors. I can tell you right now, AI is not at the point where it's like editing crazy yet. Yeah. But I've got insane editors, and it's because I did the research and found the people and built it and set it up to a point where also too, a lot of they did a lot of that, but we found that 1%. If I connect you to my 1%, I can also get a percentage to help you. Right. And so that's the service side. And then also the content side, or the whatever they're managing, we want to help introduce them, because I actually had another podcast guest, and I'm sorry I bring up all these names. It's how I learned, right?
Yeah, of course.
David Rivero said this, and he said, and he's got like a huge e-com business, stuff like that. And he said, if you build a business, eventually you're going to need to build a second business to support that business, because it's an ecosystem. That business feeds into the next business, and then you just make more money from that. So I was like, oh, okay, what would the ecosystem look like? Because it's funny, it goes full circle to when I first sat down with Cody Sperber, and he said, like, you could see my face. He's like, what are you going to do? You started this. Now what? Yeah. What are you going to do? And I'm just sitting there like, it's like almost, that was like 2 years ago. And I'm just like, I don't know. And like today I've like thought about it. And I have so many more plans, but you can only do one step at a time. So it's like,
your next step is moving out to Miami.
Yeah.
What does Miami do for you that Phoenix can't?
I've got a lot of people who are wanting to be interviewed out there. Okay, and that's going to build because personal, like, it's another question I want to ask you, right? Like, so real estate's a half of what you do, but like the other half, or I don't know how you would define it, but I mean, a huge part of what you do is personal branding. Like, you've almost become like a big time personal branding expert in this space. Cause you're, when people talk about real estate programs, like they definitely bring your name up.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Cause like I don't know if you realize that, like you've got a lot of people like who mention you.
I just do what I've always done, which is one of the reasons why I drive a Prius is I have gotten so used to just driving around town, buying houses and doing the thing and going on appointments and saving people from foreclosure and helping people out of bad situations that even now that I don't need to do that, I still do it. Why? Because I take people with me.
Yeah.
People that are starting out, I'm like, hey, let's just meet me in my office on Saturday, right? Like tomorrow, I've just got this fun, cool thing. I just came up with an idea on Monday. I'm going to do on Thursday. I just go, hey, come to my office and I'm just going to show you guys exactly how to do the business for free. Like just for free. People are like, wait, so this doesn't cost any money? What's the catch? I'm like, nothing. I've been doing this for 12 years. I've been giving it away for free for 12 freaking years. And one of the things I love doing is just driving people around in my car and going on appointments and showing them what the business really looks like. And so my personal brand grew without me trying to grow a personal brand. Somebody sent me a text message yesterday. Pace, what advice do you have for somebody that's trying to build a personal brand? I go, don't build a personal brand. Just be authentically good at what you do and talk about it. And here's the thing, if I am good at real estate and I educate people on YouTube, Instagram lives, all of those types of things, I should make money from people bringing me deals, shouldn't I? So there's this amazing cycle where last year I bought $100 million in real estate just from people in my audience. My personal brand wasn't like, hey, let's post on Instagram 3 times a day and let's make sure our edits are good. Bro, I don't give a shit what I look like. I don't care what I drive. I literally just go, will somebody watch this and be able to bring me a deal because of how simple I made this?
Right.
And so my personal brand grew without me trying to grow a personal brand. My entire personal brand was like, send me a deal. Mm. That was my brand. It wasn't like, I'm good friends with Cody Sanchez. She is a genius at personal branding. She sits down. She has a team. They craft things. They practice things. They test things before they post them. Bro, I'll just post pictures of the food I ate yesterday.
Yeah.
And then people will text me and go, why did you do that? What funnel did that send people to? I'm like, bro, I just was showing people my burrito. Like, what more do I need to do? So it is interesting when people say, hey, there's a lot of people that talk about you in the business. And I think it really just comes down to, holy crap, that guy actually is doing the business and he's just authentically talking about it. There's not a lot of people in the real estate space that do that.
I want to know kind of the origin story of this because you started as a contractor, as you mentioned, and then you get into real estate. But, and I know you've told this story before, but just kind of like bridge the gap of why, like, did you get involved and how did you, like, what made you see that opportunity?
Well, I mean, you drive around the streets, right? Even Tyler, who owns the studio here, I'm talking to Tyler before I showed up. I'm like, I'm curious about every building I drive by. I'm like, bro, you own this? Like, what's up? Tell me about the building. He tells me the 14-year origin story of the building. Every house, every building, every restaurant, every apartment building has a story of somebody who fought tooth and nail to own that thing. And then they built it up. It's just so fun. And what was cool is as a young kid, I used to be the guy that would paint those buildings or do the baseboards or the trim or do the carpet or whatever else. That's how my father put food on the table, was being a contractor. So when I wanted to learn how to make money, my dad's like, yeah, come with me. You can, tape baseboards. Come with me. You can install the toilets. Come with me. You can do this. And so I learned, like, helping put part of that story together on that house. I learned I fell in love with houses. And when I got into my 20s and I needed to run my own business, what was the only thing I knew how to do? Mm-hmm. Construction. So I got into construction. The reason why, this is for people that are like, oh, I know Pace and he has a big personal brand and millions of followers and a TV show and blah, 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 blah. When you tell me I got a TV show, I forget I have a TV show. For me, this is why I got on Instagram. Microsoft Vista had just come out. You're too young to remember what Microsoft Vista is.
I know.
Okay, you remember. Okay. Microsoft Vista came out and it was upgrading and updating Microsoft XP. Mm-hmm. And it was this massive thing. And I upgraded my computer to Vista and it deletes every picture, video, everything. My brother who's dead now, my previous marriage, my first house I ever owned, My dog I bought when I was 21 years old. I lost everything, dude. And I'm like, F this is the worst thing ever. And I switched over to Mac because I'm like, F Microsoft, F Android, F all that crap. I lost all my shit.
Yeah.
Somebody comes to me like a year later, they go, dude, you should just get on this thing called Instagram. It's basically a good way for you to save all your photos. So instead of me taking a photo and putting them on my computer, I started trusting the cloud. I was like, okay, I'm done with the whole hard drive bullshit. So I just started throwing stuff on Instagram, before and afters, food I'm eating, this interesting thing, blah, 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 blah. All the way back 13 years ago, if you guys scroll through my Instagram, I have about 7,000 posts. If you scroll all the way back, you'll see me taking photos of scorpions, cheesecake in New York, just random stuff with no reason. But then as a contractor, I would do before and after photos. And I would play around with the collage things on Instagram. And I just kind of fell in love with it. Nobody liked my stuff. Nobody was following me. I just thought of Instagram as a good place to save all my stuff. That's it. Pace, why'd you build a personal brand? To save my photos. That's literally it.
Yeah.
And so I get a call from a company called Open Door. Okay. You're not in the real estate space, so you might not know who Open Door is, but they're one of the largest real estate buyers now in the country. And they started in Phoenix, Arizona about 12 years ago. And they call me up and they go, hey, we saw your Instagram post. I'm like, people see my shit? What are you talking about? They go, well, yeah, you had a hashtag on it that said Arizona contractor. And we just typed in Instagram, Arizona contractor, and it popped up your photo. Would you be interested in being our contractor? I go, sure. I go down to their office. They go, yeah, we'd like to give you 50 houses a month. I'm like, excuse me, I have like 4 people on my team. They go, well, we suggest you build a bigger team because we can't get these other contractors to pick up the gosh dang phone. I go, okay. And so in 2013 was the first time I took home $1 million in my life. I was 29, took home $1 million, and it was because of Instagram. Because Instagram helped me get that customer. That customer, I netted $1 million that year in my pocket after taxes, after everything. But I was touching houses the whole time. I was touching houses, paint this, that, and the other. And I just loved being in houses. I loved being in my Prius, mobbing around the city and just visiting my guys. And
You have that same car?
Oh, no. I've had 4 different Priuses. You know, this is like, I used to have.
Why do you like Priuses so much?
Because I don't care about if I bump into a thing and if somebody dents my door or, you know, like I've got really nice cars and I don't drive them because I'm afraid somebody's going to mess them up.
Yeah.
You know? And so I just love my Prius, or I have an F-350 and I've got some other things. So at the time I just kept saying like, okay, I thought I was in real estate the whole time, Shaq. I thought I was in real estate. Like I'm in the real estate game. Well, I had a lady, this is 2012. I had a lady that came to me and says, hey, you're a slave to these people. You don't actually own your construction business. Let me show you how to get into the real estate game. I was like, what? You're going to show me how to get in? She's like, yeah. She was a client of mine, so she had hired me to flip her houses for her. So she buys a house, she's flipping it. I would do the construction. I hit the budgets, I hit the timelines, I communicated with her well, and she kept hiring me. And on the 3rd house, she's like, you're an idiot. Why aren't you doing this yourself? I'm like, I am. I'm in real estate. Look at me. I'm touching all these houses. She's like, no. You're touching my house. You don't own this. You're a slave to me. And so she sat me down. This is like when the iPhone 3 was out. And she showed me how to find real estate deals. And a month later, I'd made $50,000 just doing 3. I did 3 deals. I made $50,000 total, not licensed, no experience, not even knowing how to fill out the contract. She just walked me through it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in real estate now. This is the greatest thing ever. And I stayed being a contractor for another 4 years until I built my real estate business up. I loved being a contractor, but what I hated was chasing money down from people. Mm-hmm. What's great about real estate is you don't chase money. When you do a real estate transaction, the title company, they cannot legally finish the transaction until you get paid. That's not how it works in construction, bro. Right? Same thing with some of your businesses. Like you'll go provide a service for somebody and then chasing money. It's like, I was so done with chasing money from clients that I'm like, that's why I like real estate. It's legally and physically impossible for me not to get paid. That is not how it works in real estate. I sell you a house, I get paid, or else I still own the house. That's all there is to it. I sell a contract and I make 20 grand. They don't own the contract until I get my 20 grand. Mm-hmm. In construction, I'd go do $100,000 renovation. Somebody go, yeah, I'll catch you. You know, they pay me 80 and they owe me 20. I'll pay you over a couple of months. Gosh, damn it. I already finished the work. What am I going to do? Walk into your house and now trespass and like slam down on the countertops? Or am I going to sit there and wait like a groveling bitch for somebody to pay me the $20,000 they owe me? That's welcome to construction. Welcome to just about any other business I've ever touched. You're chasing down clients that don't pay you because they're using your money to jump into the next project.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was freedom. Every day since I've been in real estate has been free. I don't have clients. When I go buy a house, who's the client? Me.
You are.
I'm the buyer.
Yeah.
I'm the customer. I don't have a customer. It's like it's almost like as if you walked into Walmart and you made money buying stuff off the shelf. That's what real estate is for me. I walk in, I go, I'm the customer. Let me buy that house. And I make money buying the thing. I'm the customer. Mm-hmm. That person has to sell me on buying their house from them. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't have customers, and real estate is the only thing that I've ever found. And, you know, my good friend Cody Sanchez will say stuff like, oh, you don't make money in real estate because blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, are you kidding me? Let's look at all my houses. Let's look at my RV parks. Let's look at my mobile home parks. Let's look. Bro, most people should not own a business. Let's be real. Have you met a lot of people in your life?
Yeah.
You ever wake up in the morning and go, how are these people even living? How do these people even pay their bills? Yeah. You ever meet somebody, you're like, damn, dude, how did you even know to put your shoe on the right foot?
Yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, those people are like, I'm going to go out and buy a business. I'm like, bro, what? You're going to manage employees, cash flow. You're going to manage taxes. You're going to manage all that kind of stuff. Bro, just sit at your 9-to-5 job. That's what most people should do. They definitely should not be buying a business. And what they should be doing is getting some real estate that's a little bit more passive. Now, I don't have any real estate that's passive. I have teams that manage those types of things, but I don't have to worry about hiring employees and all that kind of stuff. My tenant pays the bills. I get paid the difference. Buying a business, dude, I'll tell you, we bought a business this year. Buying a business is like getting kicked in the teeth 1,000 times. Why? I bought a business this year called theperfectclean.com. Mm-hmm. Okay. When you buy a business, you're not buying the business. You're not just buying the business. You're also buying all the employees and the old culture.
Yeah.
And you're adopting and bringing that in. Guess what? You don't know that culture until you own it. Mm-hmm. Everybody's lying to you that everything's fine. Second you take over the company, guess what happens?
You start to see all the cracks.
Not only do you see the cracks, but then you get 20 employees that sabotage the company because how dare I was here since day one and Tom sold the company. Yeah. He told me I was going to have profit share one day.
Yeah, so my family's in restaurants.
Yeah.
Own restaurants.
Oh, nightmare business.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
You in order to be successful in a restaurant business, it's got to be a family affair.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. Rule number one, what do they teach at Harvard Business School? What do they say on day one? Never own a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's hard. But your family runs it together, right?
Well, no, my father's kind of like a solo franchisee multi-unit.
Okay.
And he does franchises, but he's been doing it for 35, 40 years. So.
Okay, so he sells franchises.
No. He owns them.
Oh, he owns a franchise. Okay, cool. That's very different. When people buy a business and they're buying a franchise, you have the help from a higher level company.
Yeah, franchisor.
Genius.
Yeah.
If you're going to go buy a business and you're like, I'm dead set on buying a business, go buy a franchise.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there's a system and a structure and they've got the CRMs already dialed in and they got the workflows.
They have a success coach from the corporate to help.
And they've got like events every year to meet other franchisees. You got a tight knit community that can help you out with that. But
conferences,
when you go buy a laundromat and you're on your own, you go buy a freaking vending machine, whatever people are into right now.
You're going to learn all the little mistakes on your own.
Yeah, you're going to learn how to lose money. And you're going to learn how to get kicked in the mother freaking face, right? Yeah. So like our company, The Perfect Clean, when we bought it, the company owners, and they're still on, we own half the company, they own half the company. So the founders are still there. But the founders like, man, we just having a really hard time finding cleaners. So last month just this Phoenix, we only are in Phoenix. Last month, we cleaned 700 houses. That's a lot of houses. Mm. So think about how many houses per day, how many cleaners do we have to have? So the number one thing we have as a problem are our cleaners and our communication with our clients, okay? So one day, Twilio goes down. Twilio is our text messaging campaign, or text messaging platform, goes down for a month. Not only did that company not make money that month because we couldn't communicate with our clients in any like efficient manner, we lost 80 grand in that month on a company, by the way, on a company that we bought that was cash flowing on day one. So a lot of people that are teaching, go buy a business that's cash flowing. Why would you buy a business? It's not, guys, one problem. Twilio goes down. That's not my company. Twilio went down for 30 days. We lost 80 grand. Holy shit. If I'm a brand new person, I'm filing bankruptcy. Okay. Where did my 80 grand come from to cover that? My real estate. I funneled cash in there to keep the company going. Then the next month, we find the reason what we were doing is we were having such a hard time finding cleaners that we went and hired a middleman to find cleaners for us. So we're paying a broker fee on every single house that's being cleaned. Then we close on the business. We buy the business. We're doing the due diligence. We're like, yeah, we got to figure out, like, how do we figure out how to find more cleaners? This company's been around for 3 years. They haven't figured it out.
Right.
So we close on the business. We jump into the email system, and there's an employee that's doing a back pocket deal with the broker on the cleaners. She had 8,000 resumes from cleaners in her email that she never once opened because the company was running ads for cleaners. I can't find cleaners to do it for the right price, blah, 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 blah. She went and found a broker that found cleaners for us, and she's getting paid like $10 every single day per cleaner type of thing. Oh, this lady's making 30 grand a month backdooring us with a broker.
Those are the kind of problems you run into in restaurants. You'll have shrinkage of
there you
whatever,
go.
Yeah.
So when people are like, oh, I want to buy a business, I'm like, you know what's never done that to me?
Real estate.
A building that can't talk back to me, doesn't sass me, doesn't ask for a raise, doesn't bitch and moan and go, where's my profit share? The building just sits there and makes the money. Like my RV parks, I've never had an RV park quit on me. I've never had an RV park ask for a raise. I've never had an RV park do a back-end deal with one of my competitors. I had an employee, check this out. This is the craziest shit you will run into as a business owner. I had an employee that set up a fake LLC that was the same name as one of our vendors. So one day we get a call from our vendor, go, hey, you owe us $300,000. Nobody's communicating with us.
That's just fraud though.
Oh, bro, it's fraud.
It's like,
do you know how long it takes to get that person in prison? Okay, her name is Amanda. That was 6 years ago. We're still going through the prosecution.
Wow.
Bro, white collar crime takes forever.
I mean, that's you're still doing at least like 3 years in jail for that.
Yeah, if they ever get to her actual case, it just keeps getting kicked down. The courts are so overran, and what ultimately the courts are doing is the courts are saying, well, do you really want to put this person in prison? Prove it to us, because we're going to keep kicking the court down the case or we're going to keep the case down the court system another 5 years.
And that person's still living just their life.
She's had 3 other jobs. She's even put me down as a reference. No, she didn't tell the companies. She left our company as somebody on her resume.
How did you find out about that? They call you?
So Amanda goes and gets hired at a different company, right?
Right.
And what she was the bookkeeper. Okay. So it was really easy for her. The other thing she did, so we had a vendor, we had a guy that worked for us flipping houses. His name's Juan Rodriguez. How many Juan Rodriguez's are there in Phoenix, Arizona?
Probably like 1,000.
So she goes on Craigslist and she runs this like little thing going, I'm looking for a Juan Rodriguez. Why? Well, she goes through and she finds one and she says, hey, we have a vendor named Juan Rodriguez that we write about $30,000 a month in checks to. He's a plumber and he does some window work for us, whatever. I can slip you like 10 grand a month without anybody knowing it's different, and I'll earmark it to Juan Rodriguez in our books. So she's writing this dude a $10,000 check every single month and then meeting him at the check cashing place. He cashes the check. On our books, it just looks like a vendor I've had for 3 years. Then my CPA goes, bro, are you guys buying a lot more houses right now? Or like, is Juan Rodriguez doing more work than he normally did? Historically, we're writing a check to him about 30 grand a month. Now we're at like $52,000 a month. What's going on? Is his prices going up? Or are you guys giving him more work? Like, that was a good CPA. Okay. And I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't really see Juan a lot. Let me call Juan. Hey, Juan. He's like, what are you talking about? Last month's checks were like 31 grand. No, it says 52. So I dug into it, and we called every single check cashing place in the state, in Arizona. And we said, if you see a white woman meeting a guy in a parking lot, so it was right up here in Scottsdale. They call us up. They go, yep, we found her. Here's the check. Here's them. Juan Rodriguez goes in the building. They meet in the parking lot. Okay.
Wow.
She hands him the check. He walks in. All the cameras are watching this whole thing. He walks in, cashes the check, pays a 20% fee to the check cashing place. So he gets 8 out of the 10.
Jeez.
He walks out, gives her 4, jumps in his car, and drives away.
How do you, and that's also another 6 year if you want to prosecute against her.
Oh yeah, bro.
Dude,
that was 6 years ago. We're still prosecuting her.
Jeez, you could almost start like a
business. Go buy a business.
You could almost start like a pyramid scheme. You could like own a criminal organization and just do this across the U.S.
This is what I love about like
insane.
an RV park, right? So like I'll go buy an RV park. I own one. You guys can Google this. I own a park up in Montana, right by Glacier National Park. 2 parks actually, right by each other. One's called Glacier Peaks and one's called Mountain View. Look them up, Google them. You can see my reviews. You can see I'm the owner. I bought both of these on seller finance. Who's my customer? Somebody on vacation, and they bring their trailer in. I don't care if their trailer has a flat tire. It's not my responsibility. I don't care if their AC is not working on their trailer. Not my responsibility. You are paying me. Somebody asked me yesterday, what do you do for a living? I go, I rent dirt. That's what I do. People come into my RV park.
You say the RV, was that the original, or when you started?
No, that's the original. I just took over somebody else's existing RV park that wanted to retire.
I meant when you started.
No, when I started, I was single family. Yeah.
Is there a reason that you prefer, like, because you've brought it up? Is there a reason you prefer that? Is there, and that also, is that considered like under a category? Is this considered commercial?
Yeah, the category is called better than buying a business.
Yeah. That's
a joke, but
because you know how they have the 4+ unit.
Yeah.
And then you got
single family, you got multifamily, which is 4+ units. You've got commercial, and you've got recreational.
Yeah. What is that categorized under?
Recreational. So it's like, you're not an RV family, I imagine. It's one of the most slept on, craziest things on the planet. You have an RV right here. It is a world that you don't even know exists. Millions and millions and millions of people. It's an $800 billion company or like business out there is RV parks and selling RVs. They're everywhere. You ever drive around and you see people's RVs? You're like, man, these people never use these things. Bro, at some point in your life, go rent an RV and spend 30 days on the road just driving America. You will see that there are tens of thousands of these RV parks. You drive by them all the time. You just don't see them.
So I want to get into a question that I see a lot is, what is seller finance? I know that's like a big one.
Seller finance is super easy. Let's say you got a phone, right? An iPhone?
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say your iPhone is worth today? What could you sell it on Craigslist?
I mean, probably like $500-600.
Okay, so let's say $500, $600. Let's say $600. You go put it on Craigslist right now. How much are you going to get?
I mean, probably 600.
Really? Does that ever happen to you on Craigslist? You put something on Craigslist for the price and somebody offers you the price? $540 cash.
Yeah. Maybe $50 or $100.
Cool.
Less.
So let's say you get an offer at $550. I call you up, Shaq, and I go, hey, bro, I see that you have your iPhone on Craigslist for $600, and I imagine everybody's giving you offers at like $550, $525. How about I pay you $600?
Mm.
I just want you to let me pay you $60 a month for the next 10 months. Could we technically do that?
Yeah, technically. I mean, there's a lot of trust involved with
it's a cell phone. It's an example.
Yeah.
Real estate does not have the same problem an iPhone does, where I could pick up the phone and walk down to Mexico. I can't pick up a house and do that shit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
I'm just giving a very simple example so people can understand it. So I could technically buy your iPhone for $600, $60 a month at 10 months, right?
Mm.
Okay, that's seller finance. You're the seller and you financed me. Did I need a bank? Did I need a down payment? Did I need a credit check?
No.
Okay, so couldn't I do that with a house?
Yeah. So can you give me like not without, you don't have to get too specific, but like just an example of a really great seller finance deal that you did on a house?
Yeah, I'll give you I got thousands of them. I'll give you one. I just drove by it yesterday. I put it on my Instagram yesterday. Address is 1906 South 78th Place. Why do I remember the address? Well, because I drove by it yesterday. It's a little house, and the seller wanted to retire. What were they doing with the house? They had tenants in the property, and they didn't want to have tenants anymore. Why? Because most people are not like me. They don't hire a team to manage their stuff. They manage they collect the rent themselves. We call them mom and pop investors, right?
Yeah.
So we get a hold of her through cold calling, and we can see how much equity people have in their houses, so we'll cold call them. Hey, Susan, my name's Pace. I'm a real estate investor. You open to a cash offer? She goes, yeah, I got a lot of cash offers. Everybody's offering 40, 50 grand, but I want to sell the house for what it's worth. I'm like, well, what do you think it's worth? She goes, I think it's worth 110 grand. That's what Zillow's telling me.
Yep.
I go, okay, cool. What if I give you 110 grand, but you let me make payments to you over time? She goes, we could do that. And I go, yeah. What are you doing to retire? She goes, well, we're going to travel around the country and I just don't want to deal with tenants anymore. And I go, cool. What if I just give you a monthly payment every single month towards the 110 grand? Remember, Shaq, what is everybody else offering this lady? 40, 50 grand on cash.
Right.
I give her $110,000 on terms. Which one is she going to take? She's already in retirement.
Whoever pays her more, yeah.
Whoever pays her more.
Yeah.
So I did a 0 down deal, 0% interest. She paid closing costs, and I got that house for $110,000. The tenant pays $1,700 a month to me. I pay Susan $500 a month. I make $1,200 a month. That's a small little example.
Yeah.
Okay. What's great about that is I bought that 5 years ago. It's now worth $280. Okay. So not only did I make, I don't know, I made $70,000 in cash flow, and I've never had to talk to that tenant. I don't know the tenant's name. I've never dealt with anything on the property. The tenant doesn't want to call us about repairs, because if they call us and ask us for a repair, what's going to happen?
Then
we're going to remind them, hey, your rent is $200 a month underneath the average rents. We might need to bump your rent up on our next lease agreement.
Right.
So these tenants will if you rent underneath the average rent rate, they'll never call you. They never bother you. That's one little example. A big example. I've done every single type of deal in between. A big example is in Tucson, I bought a 160 unit apartment complex. You know, you drive around these apartment complexes, you're like, one day I want to own one of those properties. Okay, well, I bought a 160 unit deal last year, $20 million. The seller says, I'm trying to retire. My kids are addicted to drugs. They don't want the property, and I don't trust them with the property. And that guy gave me seller finance on 160 units. Mm-hmm. Okay, that 160 units brings in about $150,000 a month in revenue. Yeah. I pay the seller monthly. I have management. I have utilities, this, that, and the other. And in our pocket, we get $53,000 a month net in our pocket.
Right.
That's one big example, all the way down to a small example. So, and guess what my apartment complex doesn't do? Ask for a raise,
quit,
steal shit, quit, sleep with the next door neighbor, get somebody pregnant in the office. I don't have any of that stuff. Right. So I watch other people going, I'm going to go build a big business, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to do a roll up here, and I'm going to start a plumbing company. I'm like, bro, you're plumbers. Nothing against them. Yeah. But like, your plumbers are guys that are going to show up late, cause issues. They're going to be like, I'm the backbone of this company. I want to, bro, this is what's tough about having employees. And I love my team members that I have, but we have a different culture, and I can be honest. I had a guy a couple of years ago in my company. Every month I give my YouTube revenue away. Okay. I either A, give it to a charity, or B, I'll give it to like a team member that's just kicking ass. And our YouTube revenue is between 20 and 30 grand a month, which is pretty cool. And so this month I go, I'm going to give it to this guy. I'm going to give this guy the $22,000 that came in from YouTube. So I give it to him. Cool. He's happy, excited. I mean, that's 20% above what he was getting. He got paid 100 grand last year. I gave him a $20,000 bonus.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah.
Not tied to anything. Mm. Okay. So the next month I decide I'm going to give it to another person in the team. That seemed to like really boost morale. What happened? The guy quit the month before is like, wait, you're not going to pay me bro, I just paid you a bonus.
Yeah.
Now you're upset that guy's getting a bonus, bro. Oh, and what does he do? Does he work for me anymore? He got mad at me. Entitlement. Has an apartment building or an RV park or a house ever had entitlement to me that they think they're more important than the owner of the company?
Right.
Never happened. Okay. Never, ever, ever happened. So when people say, why real estate? I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Name something better. Yeah. Not only do I pay no money in taxes, it pays me monthly. It goes up in value. It's an actual perfect hedge against inflation. I take that money that I make and I go put that in Bitcoin, while I watch other people do the same thing. They go, let me go this is what's crazy. I'll go buy a piece of real estate, like an RV park. I just bought another RV park. We're closing on it tomorrow or the next day. And I bought that RV park. It'll net like $26,000 a month. How much money am I into that deal? $0 into that deal.
Mhm.
How? Seller finance. The seller's old enough. He doesn't want it. He wants to retire. He wants a high purchase price. What will I do with that cash? Well, one, I won't pay taxes this year because the IRS rewards real estate investors. So I won't pay taxes this year. So the money I would have normally paid to taxes, I go put in Bitcoin.
Yeah. So are you utilizing the 1095 exchange and then
1031, yeah.
Or sorry, 1031 exchange and
1095, you're an insurance guy. So 1095 is an insurance exchange.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I said
Yeah.
So are you like, and so when you do the 1031 exchange, are you just reinvesting in another like multi-unit?
Yeah.
What's your like?
So if I do,
typical
like right now, I'm actually consolidating,
protocol?
selling my single family. Like in 3 years, I won't have any more single family.
Yeah.
I'll consolidate all of those, sell them. And
Is that because of market fears? Is that because of anything that you think?
No, we call it harvesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give you a good example. I bought a property, 2720 North Sterling Avenue in Mesa 5 years ago. I bought it, took over somebody's payments. I had zero equity when I bought it, but I took over his payments at 3.9% and no credit, no money out of my pocket. I turned that into an Airbnb. It makes a bunch of money for 5 years, but the value of the property went from we bought it for 372, 788 is the purchase price. We just sold it for 740. It was time to harvest it. It's because it's something called return on equity. So
Yeah.
I bought it for 372, 788. It's now worth 7 plus.
Yeah.
I've got
And you
300,000 in equity in there.
You probably want to get rid of most of the houses right now, anyways. Since so are you anticipating that the price, your assets are going to go down if you don't sell? Because
No.
right now, if you look at houses in general, right now there's a lot of concern about the pricing.
When has there not been a concern?
Right.
Tell me a year ever that the bullshit media and the bullshit people on YouTube don't have fucking fire emojis behind them. The market's gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
What year and what month has that not been
but like
the
also
case?
too, like in general though, isn't there just a lot of
the market went up 5% over the entire nation last year. Meanwhile, there was over 15,000 people that made YouTube videos saying the market is crashing. The overall United States made 5% gain last year. That outbeat inflation. The market is not going down. And the demand is so significant. The other thing people bring up to me is they go, what if we deport all the illegal immigrants? Well, first and foremost, they're not going to. They've only deported 1,000 people that all have criminal records.
Yeah.
They're not going to deport the illegal immigrants. Okay. The people that are hardworking families, I can guarantee you. Okay. Trump is, whether you hate him or you love him, Trump is smart enough to send a broadcasting message to the entire world and say, do not come to our country. How does he do that? Does he say, hey, we're only going to deport the criminals? Or does he say, we're deporting everybody, put fear in people to not come up to America, okay? And meanwhile, only focus on getting the criminals out, right? Cool. Right. Why do I bring that up? Well, because people came to me and they go, well, if 10 million people are taken out of the country, I'm like, bro, do you even imagine how that's even physically possible?
Yeah, it would affect us.
It would affect us, but how would they even be able to do that? They can't, it's physically impossible.
Right.
But even in that situation, guess how many houses were short in the United States? 7 million houses short of a stable demand or a stable market. The demand is so massive. It is so absolutely massive that there's no way. Why wouldn't the market have crashed last year? Interest rates were at 7.5. Now they're lower. Why wouldn't the market have crashed last year? Why did it not crash? Because the demand is so massive. Okay. The demand dictates what happens with the market. So people are, they're printing more money. No, they stopped printing money. They stopped giving PPP loans to people like 2.5, 3 years ago. That money is all bled out. How has the market been held up? Because people are still buying houses at the current rates with the current interest rate. It's slow. We had the slowest rate on record, but still, slowest retail market in the last 35 years, and the market still went up 5%.
Right.
That's crazy. But no, the reason you sell a property is because it's hit a point of equity that it doesn't make sense for me to have $300,000 in equity in a single family house.
When you can be moving that money anyways.
Right. So return on equity is the equation. So let's do the equation real fast. I buy the house for $372. It's now worth 7 plus, right? So I've got $300,000 in equity sitting in this house. I look at how much that property makes me yearly. Let's say that property makes me $30,000 a year net in my pocket. What's my return on equity? It's 10%. I've got $300,000 in equity sitting in that property. That property kicks me out $30,000. That's a 10% return on equity. Okay, well, can I get 10%? Can I get more than 10% somewhere else on that 300 grand? The answer is absolutely. So when that number hits, our equity hits a point where we can make more money somewhere else, that ROE equation, our system automatically triggers, put the house for sale, sell the house.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the market. It has to do with get that equity out, roll it into the bigger deal, sell that house. Why? Because single family is more management intensive.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've got buildings and addresses.
And the more you grow, also it also shows you have more options, right?
Yeah, you have way more options.
You make more money, you have more options, you can invest in something better.
Yeah,
right?
and you get more. The other thing is too, after you've done a number of deals, you build a reputation in town that people will send you opportunities that you didn't have access to 5 years ago, right? And the other thing too is people will go, okay, I'll seller finance this RV park to you, but show me that you actually have done this before, and I can show them my single family portfolio. So when people go, oh, should I just skip RV parks and multifamily? I'm like, no offense to Grant. I love Grant. He's one of my friends. Nobody can jump into multifamily without having some sort of experience. So why does Grant, brilliant marketer, one of the greatest marketers on the planet, why does Grant tell you don't buy a single family home, jump into multifamily? Because he's a genius. He never once shows you how to find, negotiate, contract, raise the money for multifamily. Because what happens, you watch his YouTube video and he makes really valid points of not to buy single family. Invest in multifamily instead. What is he really doing, Shaq?
Raising money for his fund.
Raising money for his fund.
Yeah, Cardone Capital.
Most genius move on the planet. Okay? Meanwhile, I'm over on my YouTube channel showing people how I negotiated, recorded conversations with the seller. I negotiated a seller finance situation, and I'm putting it on my YouTube channel for free. No wonder he raised $1 billion in cash, and I raised 15 million because I'm giving away the information for free for people to go do it. He's giving great information, but pushing people into a product that he controls and knows. He's way more intelligent than I am.
He also spends a crap ton of money on marketing.
Yeah, he's genius. Yeah. He's an absolute genius. And, I'm not Grant, so I'm not going to try and be Grant, but I can take elements from Grant and go, man, I'm inspired by that. I'm inspired to do more. He is truly one of the most genius marketers on the planet.
Right.
And so single family, what's funny is, where did Grant Cardone start? How did he start in real estate?
I think he was actually starting car sales, and he started investing in single family homes.
Single family. His first 20 plus deals were single family deals, which then gave him the credibility to jump into multifamily.
Right.
And what happened with Grant, and this is a story he tells, so this is not me ratting him out. The reason Grant got into multifamily was an accident. Everybody was telling him, invest in multifamily. He's like, no, that's stupid. I'm going to stick with what I'm doing. And his CPA comes to him one day, I think this is like 2015, 14, something like, no, he's been in real estate for 12 years. So this would have been like 2011. And it was a Louisiana apartment building. And he goes, fine, I'll buy a stupid apartment building so I don't pay taxes. So he did it literally for a tax play. Little did he know, he bought it at the bottom of the market, 2000, I don't know the year. I'm sure him or Jared will watch this and correct me, but the freaking apartment building doubles. And he's like, what the freak? Why haven't we been doing this?
Yeah.
Then he goes and crushes it, and he's been crushing it. And that's how he became a billionaire, is through multifamily.
And he likes money.
And he likes money. He's a genius marketer, and he's changing the world. Grant is truly changing the world. He's amazing. But even he started in single family, got the credibility in single family so he could go buy multifamily. Guys, you can't just jump into multifamily without investing in somebody else.
Right.
Unless you already are credible. Like if you're a doctor of 20 years, you have a bankroll, you go talk to a seller about a multifamily deal, they'll listen to you and sell you a deal. But if you're a dude like me, a contractor, and you go straight to a 160 unit multifamily deal and go, will you seller finance this to me? The seller's going to go, who the hell are you and what management experience do you have?
Right.
So single family is way easier. RV parks are easier. Mobile home parks are easier. Apartment buildings take a little bit more prowess and they take a little bit more credibility.
So what would you say is like the main question you get from most of your students, and what do you think, or what's like the most repeated advice like you always give that like you couldn't emphasize enough?
Shut your mouth and go to work. I mean, literally anything, like dieting, building muscle, treating your wife better, being a better father is literally shut your mouth and go to work. I mean, you know how this is. It's like you could talk about building your podcast for the rest of your life, but it's not until you actually do the thing and you move to Miami and you take a bet on yourself that anything's going to ever happen, right? Mm. So that's the number one thing. And my audience, not students, but my audience, I'd say the number one thing on YouTube is like they get sucked into YouTube University and they get these little dopamine fixes. And we call this mental masturbation. Like as I'm learning something, I feel like I'm doing something. It's just jerking off mentally, right? You're like, it ain't doing anything for you. Tomorrow, you're going to not be anywhere further than you were today by just watching the stuff. So the number one thing is people are like, where do I get started? I then send them a video on my YouTube channel called Where to Start. It's a 3-hour video.
Yeah.
People watch it and they go, okay, so where do I start? I'm like, bro, do you speak English? I don't know what the hell, like the problem is here's the problem. The problem is 99% of people on the planet will never be in the 1%. Why? Because they're not willing to do the work. They're not willing to take the risk. I mean, think about this building and everywhere we are now. This represents somebody taking risk and betting on themselves.
Right.
And the human brain hates risk. Okay. The amygdala. Do you know the amygdala in your brain? Amygdala means almond in Greek. It's the size of an almond and it prevents you from wanting to take risk and exerting energy. So it's like, hey, I should go work out today. Nah, save yourself the energy. We could have a saber-tooth tiger attack us when we leave the cave today. You need all the energy you can do. So people are just so afraid of taking risk.
Yeah.
And what they don't contemplate is the price of inaction. They contemplate the price of failure. They contemplate the price of, like, let's say a mentorship. Let's say you're selling a mentorship. They contemplate the price of that, but they never contemplate the price of inaction. And that's the thing that you should be the most fearful of, is wasting your life. And I sadly believe that most people just don't realize that they have a mortality. They are mortal human beings. They will die.
Yeah.
You ever had a friend kill themselves or die?
Luckily, no, actually.
You're young, so I'm sure you have, right? When you get into like you're 35 to 45, I had a good friend of mine killed himself 3 days ago. I had a friend of mine kill himself 3 months ago. Life is hard, dude. Life is really hard, and none of us are getting out alive. And so many people will just sit around and do nothing and just watch a bunch of content. So I'd say that that's the number one thing, is like, shut your mouth, go to work.
Yeah.
Even for me, I tell myself the same thing. Anytime I'm feeling bad for myself or sorry for myself, it's like, shut your mouth, go to work. It's the only thing that will solve the problem.
Yeah. So where can everybody find you? And also, just if you could look at the camera, just give them just your best advice.
You guys can find me on Instagram. Just DM me. You guys ever have a question, I DM and reply myself. You guys ever have a question, you need help or a video or a suggestion of a book or anything like that, I'm happy to give you guys that advice and that help anytime. Instagram DMs. I'm rarely on anything else. I'm not in my comments on anything else. So Instagram DMs. I have nothing to sell you. I have no events to sell you on, none of that kind of stuff. But I'm always here to help, always here to, guide you along the way and give you your first couple of steps. Best advice I'd ever give anybody is go look up the Harvard study that was just released and read this Harvard study. The greatest piece of advice I could ever give you is founded in science and founded in this long study at Harvard. And the study was this. They tracked 100 families over 75 years. They tracked where their kids went to school, what jobs they got, who they married, how many kids they had, how much money they made, when they retired, what this, what that, every single imaginable thing. They tracked every single member out of 100 families for 75 years. And they just released the study. It's an ongoing thing, but they just finally released it. And what they found is that 95% of your success and 95% of your failure comes from the 5 people you spend the most time with. It is literally that. Anytime I wanted something in life, I had to hang out with the people that had it. I wanted to learn something. I hung out with the people that knew it. I wanted to feel more motivated, get out of a rut, whatever it is. It was always about hanging out with a dude that was a step above me, 2 steps above me, that had a giver's heart and was willing to have an extended hand. Get yourself into rooms. Nowadays, sadly, it wasn't like this in the 70s, I imagine, but nowadays, the way I get into rooms is I buy myself into rooms. The first room I ever bought myself into was $5,000. I bought myself into rooms that are $50,000, $100,000 to get around people that also write those size of checks. And the higher level room you get in, magically, you start making more money. You also start treating your spouse better because those people got to where they are by treating their spouse properly and their kids properly and running their businesses properly. So again, 5 closest people to you, we call them your board of directors. Whoever you spend the most time with, those are your board of directors. They actually run your life. You don't. Okay. Just like a board of directors runs the company, those 5 people run your life. You don't see it, but they have strings all over you. So when somebody comes to me and goes, I'm struggling with this, I go, okay, you have shitty friends. Like, why would you say that? And then 15 minutes later, like, yeah, you're right. I have shitty friends. Best advice I could ever give you.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, guys, kicking ass, taking names with Pace Morby. You can find him at Pace Morby. As always, stay tuned.
Subscribe to his channel, guys. Give him a little bit of love.
Let's go.
Subscribe to the channel. Thank you, Shaq.
Right,
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.